So it's raining outside, so I gotta practice flying inside. What the? So you want to learn how to fly FPV, huh? Well, get used to this and a lot of this, because you're gonna be wrecking. You're gonna be wrecking a lot. My battery exploded. So I was flying my drone. I went over this hill and it dropped somewhere down in there. Trying to document this. Great view. I'm in the middle of Oregon, middle of nowhere, trying to retrieve this drone. They said I couldn't. They said I wouldn't. But I did. Everybody else. I've done it again. I'm impressed with myself. I climbed down this mountain, found my drone, and then my GoPro wasn't attached. Found that shit too. You just can't stop me. What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about how FPV has changed my business forever. So let's go back to 2018 when I first started HI Productions. I was big into drone stuff already. I'd already kind of made a name for myself in the drone world, but I didn't really know much about FPV. I didn't know anybody that did it, but I remember watching Jay Alvarez, a video that he did, this is obviously like 4 or 5 years ago, and I saw one drone shot and I was like, man, I can't do that with my drone. Like there's no way you can maneuver a drone like that unless they took it apart or did something. So I did my research. I figured out who the drone pilot was. And that drone pilot was the GOAT himself, Johnny FPV. And if you don't know who Johnny FPV is, what are you doing? I mean, he's one of the greatest FPV pilots out there right now and probably ever. I knew once I saw that shot by Johnny, that's exactly what I wanted to be able to do. So I did my research and I found a guy in the local area that I actually worked with a while back who flew FPV, and I DM'd him. I said, hey man, I want to learn how to do this. Can you meet with me? So he came to my office. He had 2 sets of goggles. He put those goggles on for me, and I had to hold onto the wall like this because he was ripping so hard. It kind of was, it's a little overwhelming at first because there's all these things he's talking about, all these terms I had no idea about. Afterwards, I was like, no, this is something I know I need to do. I know it's gonna take some time. It's not something that's just gonna happen overnight. So he told me, listen, you need to get the simulator, get a flight simulator, practice, and then we'll talk about if you wanna buy. I practiced for a day on the simulator. I was like, nope, I'm ready. I went ahead and ordered all the parts, and I was like, man, what in the hell do I do with all this? He came over, we built it together. Took a lot longer than I thought. The drone was ready. Well, I thought it was ready. Tried to take it up, didn't work. It's different than it was now because now you can just buy an FPV, DJI FPV drone, and you're ready to fly almost immediately. You can buy a bind to fly drone. It's ready to fly. Now, I didn't get into it like a lot of people got into the FPV hobby or the sport. I got into it to film, and I never lost sight of that. Yeah, it was cool to learn how to do all this stuff, but at the end of the day, I was like, I don't care about how to tune this drone perfectly, which I should learn how to do because that does help with your flights and your control and being able to whip it around and get the shot you want. So I do respect the hobby, but at the end of the day, I just wanted to figure out how I could film in the best possible way. All right, let's fast forward to now. I mean, FPV is a big reason why I was able to buy this house, have this office, have a lot of this equipment. I landed so many jobs just because of the way I flew and the skills that I had to be able to capture the shots that each business owner or director wanted. And I always press that on people. Hey, find something that you're really good at or you're passionate about within your industry that sets you apart, whether that's being an audio engineer or your ability to edit or do After Effects or something. There's something different that sets you apart because everybody can pick up a camera and film. Everybody can pick up a camera and put something together. You know, what makes you stand out? So let me just tell you a few of the shoots I was able to go on so far. And I don't press FPV nearly as much as I used to because I like I like getting into the weeds in a project. FPV is nice because you show up, film, and you leave. And even if you do edit stuff, like for the most part, it's a one-shot take. Like you don't really want to edit too much because you want to show off your FPV skills. It's all delayed gratification. All the work's already done. You already worked your ass off to get good at FPV. So now when you show up, you shoot and you leave. So it's kind of nice to get to that point. You can make pretty good money. I wouldn't charge anything under like $200 an hour. I don't do hour projects anymore either because people are like, I want you out there for 30 minutes. If you're good enough, you need to charge for it because most people can't get those shots. I'm the only one around here that can fly FPV. So, I mean, I get hit up by the university, everybody, but I want to tell you a few of the jobs I've been able to do and people I've been able to work with because I can fly FPV. Now, when I first started, the jobs weren't as big as they are now, but when I started, a lot of construction companies, real estate, general contractors, they wanted me to fly their projects or their homes, which was cool. I mean, I was awesome. It was awesome to be able to do that. When I moved to Atlanta, I started getting into stuff like music videos, rap videos, and I was able to work with, if you're from the South, you know who Lil Boosie is. They say that I'm crazy. I worked with Lil Baby. That was cool. And I worked with Offset, so some of the Migos, and all those were awesome. And I was grateful to be able to do that. But I've steered a little bit away from doing FPV shoots for rap videos because a lot of times you go on set, they want you there for an hour, you get in, you get out, you leave. You don't get to be a big part of the process, which I like to be. I like to have my hands in everything. But now I almost landed a huge job with Southern Power Group, Georgia Power, and I was going to charge a lot of money to be able to fly for this project because I knew they had the money. I was a little bit nervous about that shoot, to be honest. My skills are there, but I don't fly my cine lifter that much. But the money was going to be good. I needed to be able to jump off in the deep end and do that. So I didn't actually land that job. I think in the future I'll be able to land big jobs like that pay really, really well. And for something like that, I mean, you can charge $4,000 a day on the low end just to fly a cine lifter because most people can't do it. You know, you're setting yourself apart with stuff like that. Georgia Power would have been a huge account, but I've flown for like NBC, Universal. I've flown for a lot of the universities around, a lot of smaller, I say smaller companies, they're big companies to me, but companies that I've always kind of wanted to work with in the Atlanta area, the Auburn area. So it's gotten me, and I've gotten in the door with a lot of people because of my FPV skills. I do a lot of stuff for Realtree now because of my FPV skills, but now they see that I can do everything. So it's been a gateway for me a lot. A lot of companies want me to do FPV. I show up on set and I do FPV, and then they see that I can edit and they see that I can film. So it becomes kind of like a catalyst for more accounts and getting my name in the door for these companies. So let's get into the pros and cons of FPV. We'll start with the pros. First off, man, that footage looks badass. I mean, the things you can get if you're a good pilot are incredible. There's not a shot that you can't get. If you can imagine it, you can probably get it. Now, if you're talented enough, that's up to you. Two, and I would say this is probably the most important thing. It opens up so many opportunities for you. If you're able to set yourself apart and fly well and be a good pilot, then you're going to be a hot commodity. Three, I would say once you get going, it's cheap. These drones aren't that much money. You already have your receiver, your remote, your radio, your goggles, in batteries, you already have all that stuff. So you don't really need to spend a bunch of money once you get going. Now on the flip side, it does take a little bit of money to get started because you have to buy the remote, you have to buy the goggles, radio, batteries, all these things to get started. But once you get started, it's cheap, if that makes any sense. You still got to buy a GoPro or whatever it is you're buying and putting on top of it. Now, I'm not going to get into all the details of what you need to buy and all that stuff. I'll put in the description what I use, but I'm not going to tell you what to get because that's something you got to learn on your own. And that's not my channel. There's plenty of channels. Bardwell, go to his channel, Joshua Bardwell. I'll link that in the description too because if you're getting started, that's a guy you need to watch. And four, the amount of money you can make doing this and charge, if you're good and you know how to market, you can make good money doing it. I mean, you can charge anywhere from, if you're just starting out, I wouldn't charge over $200 an hour. But I mean, if you do the math, you can make well over $1,000 a day doing this. And that's on the low end because you can charge some people more than that. The amount of money you can make, it's worth, in my opinion, it's worth learning how to do. Let's get into the cons now because there are cons. One, it takes forever to learn. And in my experience, it takes a long time to learn how to get good at this. So you have to have patience. You have to be diligent. It doesn't happen overnight. And anybody that says they learn quickly, yeah, the thing is, you could probably learn how to fly decently well pretty quickly. But if you don't know how to work a GoPro or work the camera, or you don't know camera settings, that also takes time too. So it takes time. And anything that's worth getting good at takes time. So don't sit there and bang yourself over and like, I'm not as good as Johnny FPV. I'm not as good as Mr. Steele. You're probably never going to get as good as them anyways. They're so far ahead. Don't compare yourself to anybody. Number two, this is a twofold thing. I already mentioned it earlier. It is expensive to first start out. I mean, that's just anything that's worth getting into is expensive. So suck it up. If you want to get into it, spend the money. Number three, and this is actually another twofold thing. These things they're gonna break. I mean, they're gonna break, and you're gonna have to learn how to fix them. You don't fly FPV expecting not to crash. You fly FPV expecting to crash. That just happens. So they break a lot, but guess what? You should know how to fix them, and you already have all these props and stuff and equipment that you bought earlier that allows you to help you fix them. So in my opinion, that's kind of a pro, because you can fix them, and they're meant to crash. So cool. Number four, these things don't always work perfectly. So you need to bring a lot of stuff. If you actually are getting paid to do this, bring a lot of stuff on set. They might break, things might not go right. So you need to at least have 2-3 drones when you're flying. Make sure it's working, make sure all your batteries are working. This takes time. Again, this goes back to the amount of time that you have to put in and learn and become educated on FPV. Let's get into what I fly now. I fly iFlight. The reason I fly iFlight is because a lot of their stuff's, in my opinion, and in my experience, has been great to me. They're bind and fly, and it's been awesome to be able to just buy it, bind it, get ready to go, take it up. And usually the settings and how they've tuned it is pretty good already, so I don't really have to touch much. Here's one of them right here. I mean, I think this is the Nazgul. I'm not sponsored by iFlight or anything. That'd be awesome if they did sponsor me, but it's just easy now. I don't solder. I don't really build my own drones anymore because I don't have time. But I have 5 drones. I have 2 cine whoops, 2 5-inches, and a cine lifter. The cine lifter doesn't get used enough. Really, all my drones don't get used enough. I don't have as much time to fly as much as I used to, but I still get hit up. I got hit up yesterday twice to do FPV. So I'm constantly getting hit up for these jobs. So just because I don't fly nearly as much doesn't mean it doesn't affect my business and doesn't get me jobs. The camera that I usually fly is just the GoPro Hero 8. I'm about to buy the GoPro Hero 10. The GoPros are getting bigger and bigger now, and I'd rather have a lighter GoPro. But the GoPro, I might get a naked GoPro Hero 10. Is it naked or naked? Do y'all say naked or naked? Poll below. When I first started flying, I thought GoPros were trash, but the footage I've been able to get from the GoPro and the places, I don't know, it's been incredible. And on the Cine Lifter, I fly the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K or the 6K. I haven't flown a Komodo on it yet, but I would like to do that. That's probably going to be my next thing. So I can essentially fly any camera that's under 6 pounds. The coolest thing about FPV to me isn't the money I made from it, really isn't the connections I've made from it. It's the beauty I've been able to capture from it. Without FPV, I probably wouldn't have gone to these places. I wouldn't have seen the beauty, and I wouldn't have been able to capture the beauty of a lot of these things otherwise. Greece, California, Oregon, Montana, Texas, Tennessee, North Carolina, Florida. I mean, there's been so many places I've gone that have been so beautiful that I wouldn't have been able to capture that beauty without FPV. So to me, that's been the coolest thing that I've gotten out of it. So where I'm at now with FPV is I don't push my ability to do FPV on Instagram as much. Now, FPV is really immersive, and it's easy to show your skill set on social media. So anytime you post FPV, people are going to know that was you, and it's going to be easy to get jobs that way. But I like to direct, I like to write, I like to film, I like to be a DP. I like to have my hands in every little piece of the project, which stretches me thin sometimes. I would say I don't really push FPV nearly as much. I like to add it into my jobs if that's something they want. A lot of times projects don't need FPV. Like when you first start out, you think everything needs to have FPV in it, but there's a time and a place for it, and it has to be tasteful. So I would say I don't do it nearly as much because that's not my sole focus. But if that was your sole focus, man, you could make some good money, and a lot of people want to just do FPV, and that's awesome, man. More power to you. I just like to do everything. So I would say now I add it in a lot of my jobs, and sometimes I just do FPV projects. But for the most part, like, I've moved on a little bit from that, and I'm glad I have, because it's opened a lot of doors for me, and it's helped me to get a lot of jobs that I wouldn't have otherwise. Now I'm in a good spot with FPV, and I'm really, really grateful for it. And without it, I don't think I would be here in this house today. I don't know where I'd be. I mean, I'm not sitting here saying that I wouldn't have been successful, but it's helped me open a lot of doors. It's been awesome to me. So without it, who knows where I'd be. So 4 years ago, I had a vision. I knew, hey, that's something I want to do. There's nothing that can get in my way. And I did it, and I learned how to do it. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, and the moral of this whole story is, whatever it is, this has nothing to do with FPV. Like, if there's something you really want to do and you enjoy doing, and there's a pulling at your heart to do it, man, do it, because it's going to take you a lot of places, and it's going to bring you a lot of joy. And hey, you might make a little bit of money on the way. So chase that dream. If you have a feeling, you have some intuition on it, do it. There's a reason for it, and who knows what will happen from it. So that's the video, guys. Appreciate you all watching. I mean, if y'all liked it, give me a like, give me a comment, and it goes a long way. Hey, even sub if you want to. The channel's growing. I love doing videos like this. So appreciate all the love, and I'll see y'all next time.